Recite the bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lehitatef batzitzit. Please be seated. We turn in our Machzor to the marginal text you'll find in the middle of page 203, a meditation before Yom Kippur. Let's read together. I hereby forgive all who have hurt me, all who have done me wrong, whether deliberately or by accident, whether by word or by deed. May no one be punished on my account. As I forgive and pardon fully those who have done me wrong, may those whom I have harmed by word or by deed forgive and pardon me, whether I acted deliberately or by accident. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my Redeemer. We rise as the Sifrei Torah proceed into the sanctuary. Is there anybody opening the ark? Would Susan Bender please join us on the bima?
Or zaru ala tzadik, uli yishrei lev simcha. 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 Sing with me, Gabrielle. Or zaru ala tzadik, uli yishrei lev simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik, uli yishrei lev simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik, uli yishrei lev simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik, uli yishrei lev simcha.
We invite David and Elizabeth, director, to join us on the bima to open the ark.
Beshiva shel mala, uveshiv'a shel mata, al dat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahal, anu matirin להתפלל עם העבריינים. Beshiva shel mala, uveshiv'a shel mata, על דת המקום ועל דת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. בשיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים.
We continue with Kol Nidre, page 205.
First. Kol nidre vesarei v'charamei v'konamei v'chinuyei v'kinusei Ushavuot Dindarna Udeishtabana Udeacharimna B'diasarna Al nafshatana Yom Kippurim Ad Yom Kippurim haba Aleinu letova kulahon icharatna behon kulahon Yehon Sharan Shevitin Betelin umevutalin La sheririn velo kayamin nidrana La nidre me'esara La esare ushevuatana la shavuot. Kol Nidre Vesarei Vekonamei Vechinuyei Vekinusei Mekinusei Ushavuot Deindarna Udeishtabana Udeacharimena Mediasarna Al Nafshatana Mi Yom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Haba Aleinu Letova Kulehon Icharatna Vehon Kulehon Yehon Sheran Shevikin Shevitin Betelin Vutalin La Sharirin Vela Kayamin Nidrana La Nidre Be'esarana La Esare Ushavuatana La Shavuot Kol Nidre Vesarei Vacharamei Vekonamei Vechinuyei Mekinusei Ushavuot Dindarna Udeishtevana Udeacharimena Mediasarna Al Nafshatana Mi Yom Kippurim Ad Yom Kippurim haba aleinu letova kulehon ichratna mehon kulehon yehon shiran Shevitin Betelin Umetalin La Sharirin Melokayamin Nidre La Nidre Me'esarana La Esare Ushevuatana La Shavuot. V'nislach lechol adat B'nei Yisrael V'lager hagar b'tocham Ki lechol ham bishkaga V'nislach lechol adat B'nei Yisrael V'lager hagar b'tocham Ki lechol ham bishgaga V'nislach lechol adat B'nei Yisrael V'lager hagar b'tocham Ki lechol ham bishgaga Silach na lavon hamazeh ki godel chastecha Mecha asher nasata lamazeh mimitzrayim v'ad heina V'sham nemar Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
To all of you who have held the Torah.
Anything more than easy.
Please be seated. Friends, I'd like to ask you to please give your undivided attention to the two carols who are the chairs of our Social Action Committee. They have a very, very important message that they want to share with us tonight.
Thank you. Well, it has been a tough couple of years, but we are so proud that throughout it, the Herzl-Ner Social Justice Committee has been there providing meals, providing clothing, school supplies, new winter coats, and baby needs for people throughout the greater Seattle area. Financial and volunteer support from HNT members has made a real difference in people's lives.
Financial support is, of course, critical to our shared goal of Tikkun Olam, but even more important is your participation. The meals need to be cooked and delivered. The new winter coats need to be purchased with the kindness by our current volunteer who goes to extra effort to make sure that they are not all the same charity coat. The JFS Food Bank food needs to be sorted and delivered.
And your participation does more than heal the world. It is an opportunity for the equally important goal of building engagement within our HNT community. Want to meet fellow congregants? Volunteering is a great way to meet people with similar interests. It doesn't need to be a year-long commitment. Volunteer for a one-off project. In fact, we have a great opportunity coming up on October 19th with Habitat for Humanity. One day of your time, and somebody's life is completely different.
As we transition towards live events, we need everybody to step up, find a project, and volunteer. Short on time, lots of projects are one-time events. Busy with your kids? Some of our projects make excellent opportunities for the whole family to participate in Tikkun Olam together. Have a tzedakah project you don't see addressed? Tell us about it.
Supporting the Herzl-Ner Tamid Social Action, Social Justice Committee is a win-win-win. It benefits people and causes in need of support. It builds community within our congregation. And it projects to everyone who we are as a people and as a congregation. Please join us with your dollars, with your passions, and with your time.
And now we have two asks. We do need some volunteers to help pass around the red Rachel baskets, as you can see. They're being held up over there, so if somebody could, we need about 5 or 6 people.
Come on, guys, get involved, step up.
And then to everybody else, please pull out your blue social action appeal cards, fold down the tabs, and give generously of your time and or your financial support, and hand it to one of the volunteers coming around with the red Rachel baskets.
Thank you, everyone, and we cannot wait to hear your great ideas.
Now, I'll do it at the end.
Just want to thank Carol and the entire Social Action Committee for all of the noble work that they do throughout the year. Tomorrow morning, the Haftarah is taken from the words of Isaiah. His rebuke of the people who fast, who put on sackcloth, who put ash on their head, and who behave as if they care about their community, when in fact it's all window dressing, because no one does a thing to help the needy, the poor, the hungry. So if we don't want to feel like the community that Isaiah is railing against, when we are here listening to the words of that Haftarah, we really hope that you will fill those baskets with your pledge cards and do your part to not just go through the motions, but to really make an important difference in our community. Thank you. We're just going to wait another moment for the cards to be collected.
Carol.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu, page 207.
Baruch Hu המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. We continue on 207.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Umvarach Shemo.
המריב ערבים.
Amen.
אהבת עולמי זו. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Umvarach Shemo.
אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיין שמות תשמות. ויאמר אדוני אל משה אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 210.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני. גל ישראל,
Amen.
השכיבנו
2:11.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני.
Shemo.
הפורס סוכת שלום, שלום עלינו, מעל כל עמו ישראל, מעל ירושלים.
Amen. We rise for Kivayom, page 212.
כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם, לפני אדוני תטהרו. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון, ובחיי דכל בישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה, לעילה, מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
We continue silently with the Amidah, beginning on page 213. We invite Susan Ben Rubin and Ness Silverstone to the bima to open the ark for Ya'aleh, page 223. Please remain standing.
Diddy die 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 yada die 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 yai die 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 diddy die 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 yai die 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 yiddy die 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 yada die 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 Ya'aleh tachanunenu me'erev ve'yavo shavatenu miboker me'yera'eh rinunenu ad arev Ya'aleh kolenu me'erev Mi'avo tzidkatenu miboker Me'yera'eh pidyoneinu ad arev ad arev.
Ad Arev.
Ya'aleh dofekenu me'erev mi'avo gilenu mi'boker mi'era'eh bakashatenu ad arev Ya'aleh enkatenu me'erev mi'avo elecha mi'boker mi'yera'eh eleinu ad ha'arev.
Please be seated. Gemar Tov. Every professor, every teacher, every rabbi who has ever taught a class has had the same experience. You prepare your first lecture with lots of thought. You time it to run 35 minutes so that there will be time for questions at the end. You see a student in the front row who is frenetically writing down every word you say. Then, at the end of your presentation or lecture, you ask if there are any questions, and it's that student who raises his or her hand. You call on him, expecting him to question one of the brilliant hypotheses that you've articulated in your lecture or your shiur. And instead, his question is, will this be on the final exam or not? If you say no, you sometimes see the student stop taking notes. Or you'll see her tearing up those notes. And for a moment, you feel disappointed that the final exam is all that that student seems to care about. And yet, all of us are a bit like that student, aren't we? We could only know the questions that God will ask us at the end of our lives. We could only know the standards by which we'll be measured. Then we'd know better how to prepare. We'd know what the things are that we need to invest our limited resources of time and energy in, and those things which are not worth our attention. Let me give you some good news tonight. The questions that we're going to be asked are, at the end, are actually available for study right now, at least according to one passage in the Talmud. According to that sugya, it will be an open book exam, and we can have the questions right now. That is, if we want them, so that we can study in advance for that moment. In Tractate Shabbat, the Talmud teaches that there are only 4 questions that are going to be asked on the final. The first one is, Nasat vinata be'emunah. On one level, it means, did you conduct your business affairs fairly? Did you run your business ethically? Were you upright in your dealings with others? Or did you cut corners? Did you deceive your customers? Forget to record every bit of income on your taxes? Or did you cheat your boss or your employees? That's the simple, literal understanding of the passage. But there's a deeper, more profound one. The Hebrew can be read to mean, did you deal in good faith? In other words, did you live your life in such a way that you inspired other people to be like you, to be upright, to be honest and righteous because you were upright, you were honest? Did you trust people? And because you trusted them, help them to make themselves more trustworthy? Did you live in such a way that because of you, they felt that being good wasn't naive? It wasn't, as Israelis would say, being a friar. And that trusting doesn't necessarily lead to being ripped off. There's a beautiful story that illustrates this point in a more expansive way. There was once a rabbi in a certain community who had a beautiful painting in his study. It was a painting of Moses carrying the 10 Commandments. He explained to a guest who was admiring the painting how he got it. Years earlier, he was a rabbinical student, spending his year in Israel. One day, he walked into an art gallery and saw the painting, and he fell in love with it. He asked the owner of the gallery how much it cost, and the owner replied, $600 US. He said, I'm sorry, but I simply can't afford that much. The proprietor then offered it to him for $450. But again, the student said, I'm sorry, but I can't afford that either. He added, I'm a rabbinical student. I'm here for a year of study, and I'm not working. I won't earn any money until I go back home, and I'm teaching in Hebrew school. The owner said, fine, take the painting. When you get home and you have enough money, send me a check. The student said, how can you do that? You just met me. You don't even know me. I live on the other side of the world. How can you be sure that you're ever going to get paid? The owner responded, I can tell that you're not the sort of person who will be able to look at this painting every day with Moses holding the tablets, one which says, thou shalt not steal, and think to yourself, ha ha, I cheated the gallery owner. As soon as he got home, the student, that rabbi, he hanged the painting and he sent the gallery owner a check. But that's not the end of the story. There's a footnote. A few years later, a woman came into the rabbi's synagogue. It was Friday night and said, "I love this prayer book, the one that you use here in your synagogue. It's the best I have ever seen. I'd love to buy a copy of it so I can use it when I'm at home on Friday night." The rabbi said, "No problem. Come back on Sunday and you can buy one in our gift shop." The woman replied, "Well, there's a problem. We're only visiting here and we're leaving the country as soon as Shabbat is over tomorrow night." The rabbi said, "Take the prayer book and send us a check when you get home." The woman said, "You trust me to do that?" The rabbi answered, "An art gallery owner in Jerusalem once taught me this lesson. Someone who loves a prayer book that much isn't likely to cheat a synagogue out of a few dollars." That's what it means to deal in good faith. Not only to obey the law, not only to avoid fraud, but to be the kind of person who increases the amount of faith and trust in the world. It means to be the kind of individual who turns other people into believers by the way that he or she treats them. The second question our sages say will be asked at the end of our days is, "Asakta bifriya vivrivya?" This phrase can also be translated in one of two ways. Literally, it means, did you fulfill the commandment to have children? But the word asakta has a deeper meaning. It means more than just physically giving birth to children. Sakta means to be involved in, to be engaged in, to be devoted to. The question really means, were you really involved in the lives of your children? Did you really work at being a parent? Did you consider this one of your prime responsibilities, or did you only give it your leftover time and energy? The psychologist Dr. Tom Cottle claims that the most reliable predictor of how well or how badly a child will do in school, all other things being equal, is how many times a week the child had dinner with both parents. Think about that. The one reliable indicator of how well or how badly a child will do in school is how many times a week he or she eats with his or her parents. The child breaks bread with both, and the child gets to feel that he has value in their eyes, that she has their support. But if the child doesn't, then he feels that he has to find his own way in life alone. Because as parents, they have other priorities that are more important than her. Whenever I've taught a candidate for conversion, I always ask the person who's converting, at the end of their period of study, what is it that they find most attractive about Judaism? Almost every time they give me the same answer. It's the warmth and the closeness of the Jewish family. It's the love of family that surrounds the Shabbat dinner table. That's what impresses me the most. Whenever they say that, I just cannot help but smile. Asakta bifriya vivriya means, did we give our children our time and not just our money? Did we give them a set of values by which to live? Did we convey to them the message, not just in our words, but by our deeds? Did we convey to them that we're much more concerned that they're honest than whether they are pretty or handsome? Did we give them a message that we're much more concerned that they're good people rather than whether they are popular people? Did we send them the message by our deeds that we care that they remain part of the Jewish people? Did we send them the message by the books that we have in our house, the tzedakah that they saw us give, by the number of times that we went with them to shul, rather than simply dropping them off at the curb so they could attend a bar or a bat mitzvah? Asakta bifriya vivriya means, did we work at being a family? Did we work at tutoring our kids to become mention? Did we show them what we want their values and their priorities to be by showing them what our values and our priorities are? The third question is, Kavati itim la Torah. Did you make room for Torah in your life? One of the hardest things about being Jewish in America is teaching ourselves to think in Jewish categories, to see opportunities for holiness where others see only everyday activities or worldly distractions. Thinking in Jewish categories requires that we dedicate time for Torah, for reading Jewish books, for considering Jewish ideas. We need to be mindful about Jewish space and Jewish time. Neighborhoods like Seward Park are few and far between, where Jewish values shape what's going on. We need to be intentional about creating these Jewish spaces, about being with our community to pray, to learn, to celebrate, to support one another together. What Jewish content permeates our homes? We no longer have Jewish time. In Israel, it's Shabbat simply by looking at the streets. The stores are closed, the traffic is far less, the atmosphere, it's different. Here, we have to work at transforming Friday night and Saturday morning into Shabbat, and other ordinary time into sacred time. If we and our children get our values from the movies, from TV, from the internet, social media, and from there only, there will be very little Jewish dimension to our lives, because there's very little Jewish dimension in those places. That's why one of the questions on the final exam will be, with all the demands on your time, how much time did you find for Torah? With what books, what classes, what activities, what moments did you fill the pages of your book of life? What's the last question? Kivita la Yeshua, la Yeshua. Did you hold on to your hope in redemption? Did you believe in the possibility that this world can be better? When you read about Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, is it something remote? Is it something so familiar that you're no longer shocked? Or is your response, this is an outrage? How can we tolerate these things to happen in a civilized world? I have to help. When you watch the evening news and you hear about another mass shooting, do you just utter a silent prayer that you and your children don't live there? Or do you react with anger and say, something has to be done about this so that young people don't have to live in constant danger of losing their lives? When you see images of heroic women and men protesting in the streets of Tehran against the suffocating tyranny of the Iranian regime and for freedom, you simply say, it's not my problem. I've got enough on my plate to deal with. Have you given up on the world? Have you resigned yourself to the belief that that's the way it is, and that's the way it's always going to be? Or do you believe that this world can, in fact, become a better world if only we're determined enough to make it happen? Once I attended an interfaith conference on religious views of death and the afterlife. One speaker told the audience, "The idea of life in the world to come is a very tempting one. A world where we'll be united with our loved ones, a world without sickness and pain. That's certainly a beautiful and satisfying belief, and in many ways, the belief in a just God seems to require it. But," he said, "there are two problems with it. The first is there is no one person who can possibly know whether it's true or not. No one has ever come back to describe the furniture of heaven or the geography of hell. And the second is the danger of believing in a perfect world to come after this world is that we no longer take the pain and the unfairness of this world seriously enough. So what if people are starving or enslaved or suffering from preventable diseases? So what if a widow is being mistreated? Why get upset when everything is going to be straightened out in the world to come?" It's like the story of the couple who die and go to heaven. And heaven is bright sunshine and soft music and people smiling. The husband turns to his husband and says, "Just think, if we hadn't quit smoking and hadn't eaten all that oat bran, we could have been here 10 years sooner." Judaism has always taught that you earn your admission ticket to the world to come, not by escaping this imperfect, sinful world, but by working to fix it, to redeem it. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to repair this broken world and make it into a place fit for the sovereignty of God. If we believe the Talmud, that's the final exam. It's just 4 questions. Just 4. The bad news is you need to answer all 4. And the exam isn't marked on a curve. The good news is it's an open book exam. The questions have been given to you tonight. Not to bribe God with our prayers and not to wish for good luck in the new year. We have come here tonight to understand what our priorities should be and to try to create a community within a community where the right priorities are taken seriously. Community where we won't be judged by the clothes we wear or by the car we drive or the money we have. A community where we'll be judged by the kind of human being we are, by the faith we have and we are awakened to summon in others by the way by which we live. When we come to Shul and Yom Kippur, we ask God one question, and God asks us several questions. We ask God, can we please have another year of life? And God asks us, what are you doing with your life? What have you done with the year you just lived? Have you lived your life faithfully? Have you been engaged in the sacred task of positively impacting others? Have you used this past year to enrich your mind and enrich your home with Torah? Have you done your share to make this world a better, kinder, cleaner, nobler place? Or have you grown cynical and dubious and come to believe that, as Bruce Hornsby once said in a song, that's just the way it is. That's the way it'll always be. In the world of medicine, there's growing acknowledgement of a role that a patient's religiosity and spirituality play in their physical well-being. In a recent article published in the Journal of Family Medicine and Disease Prevention, Professor Bassem Abbas Al-Ubaidi, a consultant family physician in the Ministry of Health of the Kingdom of Bahrain and an assistant professor at the Arabian Gulf University, argues for the need to integrate spiritual needs into patient care. He suggests that healthcare professionals conduct a FICA evaluation with their patients. FICA is an acronym for 4 categories. It has nothing to do with your pay stub. F for faith and belief. I for importance. C for community. A for address in care. And he suggests sample questions to correspond with each question. Faith and belief. Do you have spiritual beliefs that help you cope with stress? If the patient responds no, consider asking, what gives your life meaning? Importance. Have your beliefs influenced how you take care of yourself in illness? Community. Are you a part of a spiritual or religious community? Address and care. How would you like me to address these issues in your healthcare? A spiritual history tool like the one developed by Professor Al-Ubaidi can be applied in our general religious lives as well. It can help us evaluate the place that Judaism has in our life and serve as a useful tool in developing a religious approach that can better enable us to answer those 4 key questions. I'm not a physician. I'm a rabbi, a spiritual leader who has a passion for helping people work on their personal theologies and helping them to strive in their Judaism. I'd like to help you with your Jewish FICA. Last year, I introduced at this holy night our affinity group initiative to better connect all of you with each other and with our synagogue. And we've got some great affinity groups. Now, I'm introducing an initiative to enable us, you and me, to better connect. Here's my offer. Meet with me in my study or in a cafe over a cup of joe or on a walk through the park. And let's figure out together how you can develop a pathway forward that will enable you to pass that test with flying colors. In the process, I'll get to know you better, and you'll get to know me better. These are God's questions. Let's ponder them. Let's study them together in advance before the day our final exam arrives. And when that day comes, may we will have lived such a life that we can pass that test with an A+. Gemar Chatima Tova. I want to wish each and every one of you a good seal, a seal for a year filled with Jewish growth, with lots of love, lots of good health, lots of happiness. Gemar Tov. Baruch Tieh. We continue as Cantor Curlin leads us in Hanashamalach, page 225.
Lemancha Eloheinu aseh velo lanu Rei amidateinu dalim vereikim Haneshamalach והגוף פולח חוסה על המלאך. הנשמה לך והגוף שלך, אדוני יעשה למען שמך. עתנו על שמך, אדוני יעשה למען שמך. בעבור כבוד שמך כי אל ברכו וחנום שמך למען שמך אדוני וסלחת לעווננו כי רב הוא.
I'd like to invite Patty Wilner Martin and family to please join us on the bima to open the ark on page 227. Ki hine kachomer. Please rise.
כי הנה כך אומר ביד היוצר ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר כן אנחנו בידך חסד נוצר לברית הבית מעל תפן ליצר כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתת ברצותו חז וברצותו מחתת כן אנחנו בידך מחייב וממוטט לברית הבית ועל תפן ליצר.
As iron in the hand of the blacksmith who forges or withdraws it at will, so are we in your hand, support of the poor. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. As the helm in the hand of the sailor who holds the course or abandons it at will, so are we in your hand, good and forgiving God. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. As glass in the hand of the glazier who shapes or melts it at will, so are we in your hand, pardoner of sin and transgression. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser.
כי הנה כירייה ביד הרוקם ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מעקם כן אנחנו בידך אלקנו ונוקם לברית הבית ועל תפן ליצר כי הנה ככסף ביד הצורף ברצותו משגשג וברצותו מצרף כן אנחנו בידך ממציא למזור טרף לבריתה בית ואל תפן ליצר.
We continue on the top of page 229. Please be seated.
אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, מתנהג בחסידות, מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צדקות עם כל בשר ורוח, לא חרתם תגמול, לא חרתם תגמול.
Abby Ellen, the author of Teenage Wasteland, a former fat kid, weighs in on living large, losing weight, and how parents can and can't help. Writes about her grandmother. I was 10 years old and visiting my grandmother. Each morning, she smothered me with kisses, and each afternoon, we'd weigh ourselves. Girls have to be thin and beautiful, Grandma said, always linking the two adjectives together. My grandmother took her weight obsession through old age and illness, all the way to her deathbed. The author describes a visit many years later to her grandmother in her nursing home. Each morning, the nurse would lift Grandma up and help her on the scale. There was silence until the nurse announced a made-up number that was sure to please Grandma. One day, the nurse pretended, as she always did in this game, to read the numbers. It's about 109, she told my 80-pound grandmother. What? Grandma said, alarmed. Yesterday, I was 105. I jumped off the sofa and headed straight for the scale. No, I said, shaking my head at the nurse, it's 105 on the nose. Are you sure? Asked Grandma. All I do is lie here and eat. I don't want to be fat when I get out of here. It's 105, I said, and suddenly I realized what was happening. The scale was Grandma's link to the world. Maybe I thought, she thinks she'll live. I looked at her lying there, paralyzed and weak and helpless. Her breathing sputtered. Her bones stuck out like pegs. I patted her stomach, rubbing loose flesh. I just don't want to get fat, she muttered once again. And at that moment, I forgave her. Shema Kolenu, O Lord, hear our voices. Do not abandon us in old age. Help us to find a sense of balance on the scales of life. We rise for Shema Kolenu, page 233. I invite Garrett and Eileen Sloan to open the ark.
Shema Kolenu Shema Koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, Mekabel berachamim, berachamim uvratzon, et tefilateinu.
Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu, Chus Rachem Aleinu, V'kabel Barachamim, V'ratzon et Tefilatenu.
Hashiveinu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Hashiveinu Adonai Lecha V'nashuva, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Al tashlichenu milfanecha, beruach kodshecha, al tikach mimenu.
Al tashlichenu milfanecha, v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu.
Al tashlichenu leyet zikna, כי חלות רוחנו אל תעזבנו.
Al tashlichenu le'et zikna, ki chlot kochenu al ta'azvehenu. Please be seated. We read together on the bottom of page 233. Our God and God of our ancestors, do not abandon us, do not forsake us, do not shame us, do not annul your covenant with us. Draw us close to your Torah, teach us your mitzvot, show us your ways, open our hearts to revere your name. Circumcise our hearts to love you. Then we will turn to you faithfully with a perfect heart, and as befits your own great name, pardon and forgive our sins, as the psalmist wrote, for the sake of your own name, forgive my sin, though it be great. Continue with Ki Anu Amecha, page 234.
Eloheinu v'Eloi avoteinu, slach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu, anu amecha v'yata Eloheinu, anu vanecha v'yata avinu, anu avadecha v'yata Adonenu, anu keholecha v'yata chelkeinu, anu nachlatecha v'yata goralenu, anu tzonecha v'yata roenu, anu charmecha v'yata notrenu, anu feulatecha v'yata yotzreinu, anu rayatecha v'yata dodenu, anu segulatecha v'yata keroveinu, anu amecha v'yata malkeinu, anu mamirecha v'yata mamirenu. Anu azefanim v'yata rachum v'chanun, anu k'shei oref v'yata erech apayim, anu melei avon v'yata malei rachamim, אנו ימינו כצל עובר, ועתה ושנותיך לא יתמו.
We read together on the bottom of page 234, we are insolent, you are gracious and compassionate. We are obstinate, you are patient. We are sinful, you are merciful. Our days are a passing shadow, but you are the one who truly is, for time without end. A man walked into a doctor's office, and the receptionist asked him what he had. He replied, "I've got shingles." She said, "Fill out this form, supply your name, address, medical insurance number. When you're done, please take a seat." 15 minutes later, a nurse's aide came out and asked him what he had. He said, "I've got shingles." So she took down his weight, height, complete medical history, and then said, "Change into this gown and wait in the examining room." Half an hour later, a nurse came in and asked him what he had. He said, "I got shingles." So she gave him a blood test, a blood pressure test, an electrocardiogram, and told him to wait for the doctor. An hour later, the doctor came in and asked him what he had. He said, "I got shingles." The doctor gave him a full cavity examination and then said, "I have checked you out thoroughly, and I can't find shingles anywhere." The man replied, "They're outside in the truck. Where do you want them?" Who we are and what we do may be a mystery to other people, but it isn't to us or to God. But on Yom Kippur, we need to say out loud what we have done wrong so that we'll be able to be repulsed by our behavior. And by being repulsed by our behavior, we hope we won't repeat it. We now say out loud those sins as we rise for the Yashamnu on page 235. I invite Mark and Gina Gonchar to please join us on the bima to open the ark.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu,
Hashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Ibarnu Dofi,
Hevinu,
Evinu,
Mihir Shanu,
Begir Shanu,
Zadnu,
Zahadnu,
Hamasnu,
Mahasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tafanu Sheker,
Yaasnu Ra,
Atsnura,
Kizavnu,
Izahavnu,
Latsnu,
Lahatsnu,
Maradnu,
Marahadnu,
Niatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avihinu,
Pashanu,
Ashahanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Shinu Oref,
ay 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 Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Tichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Ta'inu,
Ta'inu,
Titanu,
Titanu.
Sarnu mimitzvotecha mishpatecha tovim v'lo shava lanu, v'ata tzadik al kol haba aleinu, ki emet asita ve'anachnu hirshanu.
We remain standing for the Al-Chet, page 237.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha be'ones u'v'ratzon, mi'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'imutz halev.
We have sinned against you unwillingly and willingly. We have sinned against you thoughtlessly. We have sinned against you through sexual immorality. We have sinned against you knowingly and deceitfully. We have sinned against you by defrauding others. We have sinned against you through forbidden trysts. We have sinned against you by scorning parents and teachers. We have sinned against you by resorting to violence. We have sinned against you through foul speech. We have sinned against you through pursuing the impulse to evil. For all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
Mi'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bechachash ubechazal, mi'al chet shechatanu lefanecha bechapat shochad.
We have sinned against you through denial and deceit. We have sinned against you by clever cynicism. We have sinned against you by the way we do business. We have sinned against you by greed and oppressive interest. We have sinned against you in everyday conversation. We have sinned against you through condescension. For all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
Mi'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha befrikatol, mi'al chet shechatanu lefanecha biflilut.
We have sinned against you by throwing off all restraint. We have sinned against you by plotting against others. We have sinned against you through superficiality. We have sinned against you by rushing to do evil. We have sinned against you through empty promises. We have sinned against you by betraying trust. For all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
Mi'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu.
Please be seated. We continue as we read together selection Dalid on the bottom of the English, page 241. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then, perhaps, to wisdom. Eviatar Banai, a member of the popular and very talented Banai family, is an ascending musical star and part of a growing trend of singer-songwriters who are drawing from traditional Jewish sources, Jewish texts, liturgy, ideas, as sources of musical inspiration. His impact in Israel is remarkable. In his song Abba, Dad or Daddy, Eviatar Banai sings lovingly for a relationship not with his biological father, but with his spiritual father, with the creator of all of us, with God. It is a beautiful and powerful song that expresses a human being's desire to be one with God in a very personal way. Dad, I want to stand in front of you and believe you are a good father. Dad, I need to know you love me, just like a good father. Dad, I want to be sure all my heart found that while this would be a good end, all I pass through, weakness becomes a strength. Dad, I want to go back to me and find you there with me. My source, I'm good, right, Dad? Whether I believe myself, a dove between a cleft in the rock, let me hear your voice. I sing a new song. Enlighten my heart and chords. As we chant Avinu Malkeinu, we express in a similar way our desire to be loved and cared for, not by Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, Adonai, Lord, Hashem, the name, but by Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our Master. We rise for Avinu Malkeinu, page 243. I'd like to invite Michael and Shani Shuffler to please open the ark.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hachazirenu, B'tshuva shlema lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hachazirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Shilach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, shlach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Zochreinu b'zikaron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Zochreinu b'zikaron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'sefer hachayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu b'sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'sefer geula v'shua.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu b'sefer Gula v'shua.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'sefer parnasa v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu b'sefer Parnasa v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'sefer zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu b'sefer Zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'sefer slicha u'mechila.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu b'sefer Slicha u'Mechila.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Baneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Baneinu, Ki ein banu maasim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu vanenu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu vanenu, Ki en banu maasim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
We remain standing for Kaddish Shalem.
Yitgadol v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chaychon uv'yomechon, u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uv'izman kari v'yimru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam l'almei almaya, Yitparach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh v'yitadar, v'yitale v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha. Le'ela le'ela b'kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Titkabal tzelo tehon, uva'u tehon dechol Yisrael, kodam avuhon di v'shmaya v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yibru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen. I'd like to invite Lawrence, Kalman and family, and Eli Halevi, to the Bima to open the Ark for Aleinu, page 246.
Yeah.
Inside on the right.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latei gdula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu ligoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו וזולתו.
כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום,
והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, מעל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, אין
Adonai.
Okay. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ.
ביום ההוא,
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Nice.
Who needs a choir when we have you? Please be seated. We turn to the Psalm for the Season of Repentance, page 248.
לדוד אדוני אורי וישמעי מרבנו. לולא האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קווה אל אדוני חזק ויאמץ ליבך וקווה אל אדוני.
In the coming week, we'll observe the following yard sites: Flora Alon, Dora Block, Celia S. Champagne, Fanny Elstein Cohen, Herbert Dance, Karen Sue Sholkoff Dobro, Libby Epstein, Rita Glosser, Murray Goldman, Judith Gottfield, Bernard Greenberg, Rose Jasson, Dorothy Katz, Helen Keller, Ruth Levin, Hetty Leiter, Sydney B. Lilly, Ruth Lilly Rosenfeld, Peter Maslin, Harry Moises, Regina Powazek, Maurice Rabinowitz, Mona Rickles, Marlene Robinson, Samuel Roth, Louis Sampt, Fanny Sampt, David Sidney Shaner, Julius Schaefer, Pearl Schiffman, Ethel Silver, Louis Steinberg, Minnie Steinberg, Lucy Jones Sitman, Peter L. Thomas, Frida Ullman, Monica Vaca, Joe Verone, Rachel Vero. We also observe the yard site of Tech Sergeant Aaron Becker, the United States Army, who entered service from Bridgeport, Connecticut. He was killed in action on October 10th, 1943, and is buried in the Margraten Cemetery in Netherlands. He was decorated with the Purple Heart. We say Kaddish for Tech Sergeant Becker. We say Kaddish for all service personnel killed in action or who went missing in action who have a yard site in the coming week. Mourner's Kaddish, page 247. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayedechal beit Israel. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei dekudisha rechu. Le'ela, le'ela, yikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. I'd like to invite our President, Nikki Friedman, to share announcements.
Yom Tov, and don't worry, I'm not going to give a sermon. It's truly a pleasure to worship with everybody at home and here after 2 years of being away. This is wonderful. Yasher Koach to Kendra Curlin, to Rabbi Herber, and everybody who participated in the services. And I want to encourage everybody, or you, to take up the Rabbi's offer of connecting, either with a coffee or some other way. It's truly a great opportunity to do that. We'd love to see more of that happening. To the announcements, Yom Kippur services are at 9:45, so you don't have to be here at 8. 9:45 is when they start. It's a long day. Yizkor services are approximately 12:45. Mincha services start at 4:20. Nila at 5:50. Now, if you haven't been to Nila Services before, I highly encourage you to give it a shot. It's like being in the fourth quarter of a football game with the score tied. It's like, it's a long day, everybody's really quiet, and then all of a sudden, like an hour left, the energy really picks up. And you can actually hear everybody praying and looking around, and there's kind of a camaraderie there. And it all leads up to the candle lighting parade that comes up at the end, which is great for kids, young and old. It's just a great way to end the 10 days of atonement, Yom Kippur. So I highly encourage, if you haven't done it before, or if you have, you know what to expect, please come. Other quick announcements, JFS Holiday Food Drive will be collecting food for the Pollock Food Bank. Again this year, please drop your donations between September 19th and October 16th. No glass containers, open packages, or expired food. The pop-up blood drive, Wednesday, October 26th and Thursday, October 27th. Lulav and Etrog pickup, Thursday, October 6th from 1 to 5 p.m. and Friday, October 7th from 9:30 to 1. If you don't have a holiday honor and would like to receive one, there's still time. See the shamus up front to the left of the bema tomorrow morning to receive an honor. And one more reminder about the High Holiday Annual Appeal. Please, if you haven't done so, please consider it both for the General Appeal and the Social Action Committee. We love the big dollars, but it's really nice just for everybody to participate in whatever you can. So every amount matters. Gemar Tov.
Gemar Tov.
Or Ne'ilah is like the last minute in the period, the third period, and the Kraken are beating the Vancouver Canucks. That's what Ne'ilah is like. We're going to conclude the Igdal on page 250.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא ויענית על מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, לעם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו. אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו. הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו. לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נעלם אינסוף. לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו. צופה ויודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר מקדמתו. גומל איש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כרישתו. ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, Baruch Adei Ad Shem Tehilato.
Gamar Chatima Tova.
Thank you, Chuck Kaplan.